Director Ray, on November 30th of last year, the Department of Homeland Security issued a bulletin warning that our nation's critical infrastructure was a potential target. Did you get that warning?
Yes, sir.
What did you do with that? Did you pass that on to Duke Energy?
So I think
No, that's a yes or no.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You passed it on to Duke Energy. Mr. Astra, did you receive that warning?
We did.
What measures did you take to secure critical infrastructure?
So we get notifications like that routinely. And so we have—
I understand that, but is also reported that there was an intelligence security memo detailing at least 15 instances over the course of less than a year, showing suspected extremists openly threatening and calling for acts of sabotage against the energy side, especially electricity substations. So I think when you get that many, and there was another direct warning issued by the Department of Homeland Security in January earlier, I don't think I'd consider that routine.
Sir, we will surge security resources into areas where we believe we have an increased threat. We cannot protect the thousands of substations across our jurisdictions.
I'm not talking about, I think, I'm not going to buy that, Mr. Chairman, that you can't protect them. I mean, you've got security cameras, you've got other things that, we're not talking about necessarily putting out ballistic-proof fencing or things like that. We're talking about just simple surveillance with someone sitting in an office 24/7 monitoring these facilities, because depending on the time of year, when you knock out a system for a couple of weeks or longer, it's not just about loss of business opportunity, it's talking about loss of life. I mean, we just saw a report that 68,000 people died, classified as excess winter deaths in Europe, because they can't afford their household utility bills. I can only imagine what would happen to people with cardiovascular issues, respiratory issues that don't have power at all because you didn't do an adequate job of protecting your critical infrastructure. How do you respond to that?
So we critically understand the need for energy in our society.
Then you ought to be taking the steps necessary to protect that infrastructure. So why haven't you?
Congressman, when we get specific intelligence about increased threats in an area, we will surge security resources, work with our law enforcement and intelligence partners to do just that.
I don't think you did that. You had an attack in California. We had 2 people arrested planning attacks in Washington and Oregon. Did you know about that?
We did.
And you didn't take additional steps to secure your infrastructure. I think that's a problem.
Certainly, we briefed our teams that were in the field to be additionally vigilant.
When I was out on the substation site, I saw possibly one place where you had a closed circuit television. The only other cameras I saw were like game trail cameras.
Sir, we have 3 trailer cameras that are deployed with 360 coverage. So they were placed strategically around that substation.
After the shooting?
Yes.
That's the problem that I have with this, Mr. Chairman, that we get these warnings, we don't know anything about them. Dr. Kern, I'd like to turn to you, following on with what my colleague from Indiana was talking about in terms of EMP. Most people think of that in terms of a human-induced attack, but you're familiar with the Carrington Event, occurred in 1859, the electromagnetic storm.
No, sir.
Well, you need to be, because Lloyd's of London takes it so seriously, sir, that they put out a report about what the estimated damage would be if we had a Carrington-level solar event. In 1859, we didn't have substations, things like that. We had telegraph wires, and they caught on fire. There was one in 1989, not near the severity of the Carrington event. Those occur about every 150, 250 years, so we're kind of in that window that in 1989, these occur about every 50 years, that knocked out power for about 6 million people. So I just think we've got to take a long, hard look about how we're securing our power bid, and also your point about changing the resource mix is the #1 threat